Welcome, everybody, to Innate Interviews. I have Dr. Kim here. I'm very excited. And we're talking about chiropractic, of course. And, I just mentioned what inspires you about chiropractic? What got you into where you are today?
Yeah, well, I mean, my dad's a chiropractor, so I kind
Yeah.
of just grew up knowing that chiropractic is awesome. Like the body needs no help, just no interference. It was proof in the pudding, miracles happen all the time. And so
Yep.
in college, I had sort of like a rebellion phase of I ain't gonna do this just because my dad's a chiropractor.
Yeah.
So I went to Creighton University in Omaha and I took a marketing class. And,
Mhm.
I realized I walk into a room with my hands, natural health, heal the world. It was a pretty powerful and cool thing. So that's what made me choose it.
Well, so you've been getting adjusted since you were born, right? With your
It's like three, I don't remember.
somewhere around there. How does
Yeah.
that sound? So what would why is it important for children to get adjusted?
So if the brain cannot communicate with the body through the nervous system, you will not be as healthy as you could be, period. A lot of times that happens just from being born. If the brain and the nerves can't communicate with the body, they can't function well and they can't heal well. So if you don't like sickness, if you don't like crabby children, if you don't like attitudes, if you want them to sleep, go to the chiropractor.
Well, I just had one sneak in. There she is over here.
Hey, little girl.
And there's Bianca. Hi, Bianca. Well, so, tell us about you. Where are you in practice?
I'm in Nebraska, in Norfolk, Nebraska, my hometown. I thought I'd never go back to, but I did. I run a cash practice in downtown Norfolk, Nebraska. My favorite patient's a 4-hour-old baby, but I'm stronger than I look. And I grew up with some college football playing brothers. And so I really like a Gonstead cervical chair and a Gonstead side posture, of course, when they're not infants.
Yeah. I always quote Clarence Gonstead. I love reading about Clarence Gonstead. So what got you into your technique of how you serve the people in serving with Gonstead?
Yeah, it's how I prefer to be adjusted.
Yeah.
Also, with the ego on my shoulder as we have as humans, it makes me feel pretty dang powerful.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun, the accomplishment of it, but it's really a way to be super specific and
Yeah.
super thorough.
Mhm.
And it's either specific or it's nothing. So that's how I feel I can get the best results.
Well, that's fantastic. So Nebraska, I've never been in Nebraska, and now isn't there a Life West? Is that in Nebraska now?
Yeah,
How
it just
amazing is that?
opened.
It
It's
is
oh so
open now.
awesome. I think it's second or third year going. It's in Bellevue University in Omaha. I've
Okay.
spoken there 3 or 4 times. I love it so much. It's super fun to have something local.
I mean, it's absolutely amazing, and having something open in that area of the country, I think is wonderful, especially principled like Life West. So that's absolutely fantastic. Now you're going to be speaking at the next New Beginnings in October. Am I
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Have you started working on your talk at all? Can you let us get us some information, maybe a little bit of what you've been thinking about or brewing up?
So the quote that says, I will promote chiropractic within the law, without the law, with keeping sick people well and the well from
Yep.
getting sick, always comes to my head because in Nebraska, we were deemed essential workers back in the day when a bunch of other people just closed their doors. And
Mm-hmm.
it really pisses me off, to be quite honest, that there weren't big enough balls in the chiropractic profession for us to stand up and say no. What would
Mm-hmm.
BJ Palmer have said had you closed your doors? If you were not deemed essential and you just closed your doors, shame on you. So that's where my passion and my heat comes from, combined with all of the natural health choices and the things we did not choose growing up to make my life what it is, make me feel like my purpose for being put on this earth is to tell people that and to make bravery a little more contagious.
Well, I absolutely love that. In Florida, everywhere, nobody was immune to any of that stuff, and we didn't know where to turn or what to do. And it was, our governments really that should or state government saying, you're essential, you're unessential, and they had no idea who chiropractors really were. Fortunately, I take care of a lot of police officers in my practice,
Yeah,
and they said, "Listen, we're not shutting down anybody. You have nothing to worry about. You do your thing." Right?
that's
Because
great.
we know we need this and we know other people need it as well. So, that's what having a well-educated office family is for, right? They know,
Yeah,
listen, I want all the healthiest cops possible going getting bad guys, right? And same with firefighters and everybody else. Everyone needs chiropractic care. Absolutely.
yeah. I always say when the cops came to my office, what happened? Well, they brought their kids to get
Yeah,
adjusted. That's what happened. And there was a
exactly.
there was a silly mask mandate. It was like $25 in my town. And I never wore one, sir. And secret, we're supposed to exhale our exhalations. We have nose hairs to filter in air. It's like, come on, God's design. But I never, ever, ever got in trouble. And secretly I wanted to. Because in my little town, I know people everywhere, at the restaurant, at the courthouse, the judges, the lawyers. I know a lot of people. I'm from here. Anyway, I really wanted that $25 fine to go to the courthouse and argue the Constitution of the United States and the land of the free and the home of the brave, but I did not get that chance. So instead, I wrote a book, and it's called Growing Up Fearless. And it's the story from second, third generation chiropractors on how we are not scared of disease. And then the story of how I kept my kid in public school without wearing a mask.
Yes. Our kids didn't wear masks. I had a few meltdowns some days with people say, aren't you going to wear a mask? And you know what? I'm throwing a tantrum right now. No, absolutely not. And whatever, we got through those days. My kids didn't have to wear them. I wrote them a note, some of my patients a notes, and all the families that called me and asked me, whatever. Anyway, so, but I had a gentleman literally just the other day, and we were talking, and his wife passed, and he said, what really killed her was the mask. She died from a fungal infection in her lungs and her throat. And you know what? It happens. It did happen. So, I think it was much worse than the thing they said was going around. Absolutely, by far.
Yeah. I went to Palmer in Iowa, and there were stories of this thing called the Spanish flu in 1918, where they wore masks and they got sicker. And the ones who saw the chiropractor did not. But we don't necessarily remember the stories of history when they're happening now, and we should.
Well, that's why we have to know our past. We have to know our history. Chiropractic, extremely important. I'm looking, my book's open. D.D. Palmer's 1910, page 719. Just a little plug for our other podcast is Synapse Philosophy Podcast. And we're on D.D. Palmer's 1910 book. And so we invite everybody to come. It's live. So you can ask questions or what have you. And then we post them. So a little plug for Synapse Philosophy Podcast. And I want to know more about your book. Can you, when we're done with this, send me the links and we'll make sure they're in the comments or in the description. Okay. So how is this? So this has to be a labor of love. I'm writing 2 books right now, and I can't even get through half of one right at the moment.
Yeah, it's more like when I coach other chiropractors, like, how do you know when to take a video? For me, I know when to simply take a video when my blood pressure goes up. Either it goes up because I'm excited, like you did this to a patient, gave him an adjustment and the body healed and it's awesome. Or it goes up because I'm mad. So when the mask mandate came and my blood pressure rose, I made some videos. It wasn't enough. I even decorated art with splatter art and paint to try to get some energy out. There was no place for me to go raise my hand and ask a question. And that's what I really wanted to do. So I took my kids to Disney World after the fact. And on the way home on the plane, all of the thoughts just kind of clicked and I wrote the book.
That's fantastic. How long did it take you to do it?
About 3 hours. And then the process of actually publishing it took a little longer.
Well, that's that's the rest of the story, right?
But I think about 2 hours in my head, two years in my head, probably.
2 years. That's, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. What's the name of the book?
Growing Up Fearless.
Growing Up Fearless. And do you have a website for it where people can order it from? Or
it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon or my website, drkimthor.com.
Perfect. drkimthor.com. We'll make sure we put that in the description. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about maybe your experience, or because we have a lot of people that listen to this that are not chiropractors and all over the world. And so we like to share a little bit of wisdom. You shared a lot already, how important your excitement about chiropractic. We're excited for a reason, especially your multiple generations, because we see the miracles. It happens. And they're not miracles. They're normal. This is how we're normally meant to be, actually. Right?
Right. Yeah. For the general public, I think authenticity is the biggest thing. If you say something at home to yourself, to your family, and to your kids, and then you go to work and you don't live on those same principles, you say different things to patients, you say different things to clients, you're one person in the back room and another person out front. that's not the best way to do business, and that's not the best way to live your life. So for chiropractors specifically, if what you're doing at home is the best to keep your family healthy, obviously you think it is because you're doing it at home, make sure that's what you're speaking and acting and doing in front of your patients. And the same thing to the general public. Your best authentic self knows the answer to the questions given when you are true to that.
Wow, there's a lot of wisdom in that. A lot of wisdom. Thank you for that, and thank you for sharing. That's being congruent. That's what I remember. I could see Arno Bernier in my head right now at camp. I went to Masterpiece Training Camp. We're talking about being congruent, and there's a lot to that in all aspects of life, whether you're a chiropractor or not. It's one of the things we actually teach our children: say what you mean and do what you say. Right. Well, Dr. Kim, thank you so much. I got us, us meeting and having a good synergy today. I really enjoyed our talk.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us, and I'll see you in October at New Beginnings in Asbury Park.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thanks
You too.
a lot.
Bye.
Bye-bye.